Hi, I'm John Lambert. I'm recording from Claremont Makerspace, 42 Main Street, Claremont. And today we're going to give you a presentation of this old bike, which is this old bike, and we're going to clean it up and do some basic maintenance on it. I'm going to show you how you can keep your bike in top running condition, or how to resurrect one that's sat in your basement for a long time. So our first step will be to bring it outside to our wash rack, and I want to show you how to properly wash a bike. All right, to get started on washing your bike, you want to use a proper cleaner, preferably not a detergent. A mild soap is good. Ivory, I think Dawn would be good. There's some bike wash and gloss. An ounce does 5 gallons, so it'll probably last you a lifetime. It's a mild soap that degreases your bike well. And around the chain rings and the really greasy parts, you can use a biodegradable cleaner. Simple Green is a very good purpose washer. So we're going to pour this in a bucket, rinse it up, get our brushes and things ready to go. All right, to start with, I want to hose most of the mud off with just water. And you see how I got the hose on a very, not a coarse stream, but a spray. And that's very important when you're washing around the wheels and the chain ring, to not put pressure directly into the bearing area, because you can get water past the seals and it'll ruin the bearing. You just want to get the dirt, mud off of it. Like the tires too. So get it wet, get most of the muck off of it. Typically in this area. Alright. And then we'll give it a first rinse over. Put the soapy water that I have in here. And let some top down. Everything's pretty waterproof, so don't worry about, I don't want to get it in here and I don't want to just get everything soapy and wet and brushed off. To do a wheel. This has rim brakes, so you want to make sure the rims are pretty clean. The dirt and grit can get into the brake pad, so it's nice and clean. So now the hard to reach areas, I'll use this brush. And this is one area right here that gets a narrow spot if you want to put a narrow brush into. I mean, you can take off the wheels to get a little bit more access if you wanted to, but this is just your ordinary post-ride cleanup. Take to put the bike away all muddy and gritty, get it ready for next time. Now derailleurs, they get full of grit. And it's good to spend a little extra time to get some of the crap off of them. You can spend more time on that if you like. So now, on the chain. And chain wheel, chain rings and sprocket here, and derailleur. I'm putting Simple Green. I'm going to let it set on there for a little bit. This brush works really good to get in between the cogs. And the brush has, if it's really loaded up with grit and dirt, you can use this side of the brush and get in between and get the heavy buildup. We don't have too heavy buildup, just a bit of built up grease that's caked on. Sometimes you want to use a smaller brush and get the derailleur wheels. And oftentimes grease builds up on them and just solidifies and cakes up and collects dirt and makes it chip poorly. So if you spend a little extra time on this wheel, it'll last longer and chip better. Again, no high pressure into the wheel bearings or the chain ring bracket area. We just rinse them and soap off. So not like this, but like this. Less liable to drag water into the bearing. Seeing how it's starting to rain a little bit more. Now, you want to take it inside, you don't want to get your house all wet. Do the shaggy dog thing, just let it bounce it a little bit and get some of the water off it, and you're ready to go. All right, so now we got the bicycle all washed up. I want to show you how to maintain it. It's nice if you have a bike stand. Here's more of a professional one. There's a hobbyist. Or you could just hang it on a hook or rest it against the wall. But if you have a stand, it makes it easier to service. If you have a stand, you want to clamp your bike on the seat post, particularly with newer bikes. If it's not a steel bike, you definitely want to do it. Either aluminum or carbon fiber. If you clamped it typically on here is where they used to, it could crush the tubes and damage your bike. So we got it clamped up here. I'm going to take just a rag and wipe it off a little bit. Now, if you want to make it, you want to protect the painted surface and make it shine a little bit more, you could use an automobile wax. And here is just a a spray wax. It's a turtle wax, wax and dry, or any of these. They're basically a touch-up wax. You don't have to use a paste wax. I just spray it on. Don't get it on a brake surface. And you just wipe it off or spread it around a little bit. And then we're checking the chain for wear. I want to show you a couple of tools, and there's a lot more than these two. This is just a go and no-go gauge. You actually hook it on the chain and you let this slide into it. So you hook it here and you let it drop in. Now, if it was like that, it would be fine. If it bottoms out, it's junk. This chain is all worn out. Another gauge is very similar. It has these pins that'll move, and you put it, again, inside the link. You turn it, and it's in, spreads the pin out. And we're just barely in the red zone, so that's worn out for sure. So this one's like 10 bucks, this one's like 35. I'd recommend an inexpensive chain gauge, because that's the thing you should check the most often. You should clean your chain, you should lubricate your chain, and you should replace it when it comes close to being worn out. Because now what's happened with this, if I put a new chain on this bike, this used stretch chain has actually elongated the slots in these cogs, both here and here, typically the smaller ones first, and it'll probably just jump. The new chain won't fit into that cog set well. So that means you'll have to replace the cassette and possibly the chain rings, which could cost you a few $100s rather than the price of a chain, which is a lot less than that. So that's something to check. I'm not going to replace the chain right now, but I'm going to show you how to oil it. So I typically use a lubricant in a bottle, and there are several different types. This is, they call it a wax. I like to lubricate it from the inside and turn the chain so that we get, let me do it from the inside here. And I just let one drop drip onto each link as it goes around. Here we go. I'm not putting a tremendous amount on it, but I'm putting it on the inside of the chain because centrifugal force will kind of make it want to spread to go to the outside. I believe that's one revolution. And so now what I'm going to do is pedal it backwards to spread it all out. This is a more heavy, pasty wax. I'm going to use a lighter lubricant. Has a little pin drop. It's all chain lube, so it doesn't matter. And I want to lubricate these little pivot points on the derailleur. And I want to lubricate the little wheels on the derailleur cogs. So this one as well, the little pivot points. The pivot points on your brake would be a pretty good area to lubricate too. Not the brakes, but just where they pivot. So if you can see these pivot areas here, and maybe a little bit of oil on the cable just to keep it from rusting. There's an exposed cable right here on the top. The pivot points on these brakes. You know, and every bike has a little different brake. So you may have these center poles, or you may have cantilever brakes. Wherever you see they pivot is where you want to put a little bit of oil. So the excess oil now is on the chain. The chain's had a chance to have that soak in. I'm going to hold it right here, and I'm going to pass the rag along it. You can see all the grit and crap that's coming off. I don't want to have a lot of oil on the outside. Whoops, I blew it. I don't want to have a lot of oil on the outside of the chain. The chain lube needs to be on the links, the little round links in the center of the chain, not on the outside of it. So after I oiled it, let it soak in, I want to just clean off what's left. This is a typical bicycle pump. It has a gauge. a handle where you pump it. Now this is a universal head. It fits both Presta and Schrader. This is a Schrader, a typical car tube. This is a Presta, and you might be not so familiar with it, but it has, they both may have a cap, don't have to. This one's just a little tiny, narrow one, and you unscrew this little thing in the middle. I pop it down to release it, and you put the tire pump on that and pump it up. Now this universal head will adapt to either tube. So you need to push it in, and then you lift the handle, and then you pump it. So look at the manufacturer recommendations for how much air you put in it. If you don't put enough, you will get a flat tire. They call it a pinch flat. So with low air pressure, the tire might hit a rock or a root or a stone, and the tire will come down flat and pinch the tube because it'll be hitting the rim. So I'm going to show you how to air it up. And you should air your tires up at least weekly. On my road bike, which has the skinny tires, I check it every time I go for a ride. So this Presta, I unscrew this, opens the valve. I push it down just to unseat the air valve. I push it on tight, lift the lever, and then push down. So I'm reading the gauge. I got 35, 40, 45 pounds. That's something you should do regular. Airing your tires and lubricating your chain, the two most important things to do with your bike. Claremont Makerspace has classes in their bike studio. If you'd like to sit in on a class, maybe bring your bike in and let us help you get a little bit more familiar with it. Please drop a line at info@ClaremontMakerspace.org. And I'm John Lambert. I welcome you to take a tour at Claremont Makerspace. We're here 7 days a week. We're open for tours 3. Just call ahead first or contact info@ClaremontMakerspace.org. Thank you.